Love podcast, hate nonsense, the Politics Joe podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo! You know what we should do? You know Sean's song that he was singing in the office? PMQs. We should do that with like darts lights. Click a button.
I've
PMQs.
been doing a version of that. I've been doing a version of that for more than a year.
What have you been doing?
PMQs. PMQs.
Is that what you were doing? I thought you were having an aneurysm.
Right.
Watching that.
I've forgotten now. I've actually lost it. That it's just become the PMQ song in my head. But it was based on the tune of a song. PMQs.
Three Blind Mice.
No, it's a pop song. I assure you.
Can we talk about more pressing matters?
Like?
Do you know about Jelking?
What's Jelking, Eva?
I've just learnt about it.
Right, and it is?
I've got to cut my penis and it's going to grow.
No. It's where you create little...
That's for those couple of people who will be like, got it!
Oh my God. They haven't watched the rest of the video. It's I think it's an urban myth that you create little micro tears in the skin of your penis and it'll grow back bigger.
Myth, yeah.
You say that's a myth, but I've since remember watching a Channel 5 documentary about a man who wished to claim he had the largest penis in the world in Mexico.
Do you mean the Andrew Callaghan one or the BBC broadcaster? Channel 5.
No. The TV station.
Okay.
Not Andrew Callaghan. And he would strap weights to the end of his junk and tear it and build scar tissue. And it was quite sad actually because he clearly was like a fantasist, and he thought that he was going to be sort of like scouted by a porn agency in the Val to like go and have sex with a load of porn stars in America. He lived like a very poor rural life in Mexico, and just had this like horrifically scarred penis.
It wouldn't look nice.
Oh no! From what I saw, it was minging.
Yeah, it would look like a palm tree trunk.
Yeah, actually, that's a pretty good description. Yeah, it was kind of like that. Yeah,
Or like the worm from June.
yeah, I guess. And also like in a permanent state of bandaging.
I bet it was weeping.
I think it was. Yeah.
Oh, that's always nice, isn't it?
What is?
Someone has to unwrap their weeping penis.
Hello, Hollywood.
I got shown the most horrific video the other day.
Right.
Maybe I shouldn't.
Tell us if we can see.
No, it's so bad.
We could bleep this.
Have you ever seen It's Only Smells?
It's only smells. No.
Just leave it. It's so bad.
What is it?
It was so bad that it made me cry.
You're almost crying now.
It's really horrific.
What is it?
I can't. We're in a work environment. I
This
don't
is
know why
like
I
our
brought it up.
version of like Laura Kay on newscast saying she can't reveal which minister said something. You can't reveal which like freaky porn you watched.
I said for the hour afterwards, I just kept saying, "Why would you show me that?"
You know, I like to think that we've all matured from the age of, sort of being 12 years old when people would like infrared and Bluetooth each other 1 megapixel videos to their phones. But I don't think we really have.
No.
That's all the internet is, isn't it? It's that sort of playground impulse to share extreme pornography.
There was one which was on like doing the rounds in the school bus, and it was a woman who apparently had a mouth in the back of her head.
What do you mean?
This was like the setup to a bad joke.
It's not. And so the video was.
What, so you'd have to look at her, or what?
No, so it's like. No, it's like the person would put their penis through it, and she'd open her mouth.
That's not real.
I know it's not real. At no point did I say it was real. I didn't say sorry. I was watching a documentary.
Sorry, I thought I was going to shatter your illusions there. Blow it wide open. Yeah. I saw there was one at my school that was someone putting a sex toy down a man's urethra.
Yep.
You see that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's got a name as well. Like joking, but it's not like obviously like rodding or something.
Cool. Is this how we start the PMQs episode?
I think we ignore PMQs and keep doing this.
We've got so many clips to go through.
There's a lot of clips. How many do you think we'll make it through of the 7?
1.
Yeah?
and because we're going to react to all the videos we've just talked about.
That would be a really good. That would be a really good like 250th episode or something.
How many are we on now?
I don't know.
210.
I don't really understand your maths and how you add them up.
It's just all the episodes we've ever uploaded.
No, there was a time we were just counting Monday ones.
Yeah, that's. I think you have to count if you're going to assess the whole season. You have to count. You have to count the Carabao Cup. You have to count the FA Cup. You have to count
What
Europe.
you just said.
And then also,
All fixtures.
Yeah, but sorry, it's just your diction was a bit off.
we're now producing podcasts as well at like double the rate, quadruple the rate. So we're going to hit 250 before we know it.
Well,
within a month.
we could react to It's Only Smells. I think you'd be interested in that.
Is that what the video is?
Yeah.
It's Only Smells.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we should promise that. I don't know if we can monetize that.
It's so bad, this video.
Are you going to look it up now?
I'm going to look it up whilst we watch.
No,
whilst we
you
watch
need
the
to
clip.
watch it. It's a long video.
I don't care for watching this, to be honest.
Shall we roll a clip?
Yes.
Roll the clip.
Whilst the economy is showing signs of improving, many pensioners are still impacted by the cost of living crisis. People in Luton who have worked hard all their lives, seeing their precious savings slip away. So can the Prime Minister tell us what measures he will take to help struggling pensioners in towns like mine?
Prime Minister. Well, Mr. Speaker, we all know the economy was left in an absolute mess by the Tories. We had to stabilise the economy with tough decisions, but the right decisions. Because of those decisions, the economy is beginning to improve. Those growth figures last year, the highest growth in the G7, interest rate cuts, 4 in a row, 3 trade deals. But I recognise that people are still feeling the pressure of the cost of living crisis, including pensioners. And as the economy improves, we want to make sure people feel those improvements in their days as their lives go forward. And that is why we want to ensure that as we go forward, more pensioners are eligible for winter fuel payments. As you would expect, Mr. Speaker, we will only make decisions we can afford. That is why we will look at that as part of a fiscal event.
Keir Starmer there confirming that there may be a U-turn on winter fuel payments, which is interesting because just last week during Downing Street briefing, the Downing Street spokesperson to lobby, why are you taking your trousers off?
He's just jiggling his keys. I also don't know why he's doing that.
I wasn't a move.
Typically in a sort of, an audio recording environment,
Oh, yeah, because this is so professional so far.
one seeks to minimise excess noise production.
We're also trying to remain on topic.
No, you must be new here.
Are you taking your trousers off?
No, I assure you, I'm just jingling my keys. Remain calm, madam. I am merely a London hipster who sports his keys on the external side of his trousers. I assure you they remain buttoned up.
It's to get Ava's attention, like if she's making a point.
Can I go back to winter fuel?
You may, yeah.
So we're looking ahead to sort of the June, I guess you would call it, like, well, what? The June statement, the June rejig of finances. Do you know, I tell you what, it's like buses, isn't it? These are coming around all the time.
I was thinking it'd be the autumn. I thought it would be the budget.
No, in June they're going to be looking
Oh, really?
at it, yeah.
Do you think?
So just last week, a Downing Street spokesperson had told the lobby that Keir Starmer was not moving on winter fuel payments. And then a week later, in a line with what The Guardian reported a fortnight ago, it does seem like they are going to raise the threshold. It's interesting. I was doing a live event on Sunday, and I asked, unlike me, to ask for audience participation. Something came over me, and I asked if people would want him to renege on winter fuel payments, and I'd say only about 20% of the room put their hands up.
Really?
How many of them were pensioners, though?
Yeah, none of them.
Yeah, because I think the way that politics has been organised, certainly for the last 14 years, but if not way longer, it's hard to not think that there is an ageist component, whether it's the triple lock for the state pension, whether it's the sort of the preservation of ever-rising housing costs at all costs by the governing party. And so actually, if you consult a room full of young professionals and do you think pensioners, by the way, that the the richest cohort in our society, insanely asset rich, right? By virtue of rising house prices, quite a lot of them own properties that are now worth 6 figures, some even 7 figures. Do you think that person, not means tested, should just receive 300 odd quid from the government every winter? You'd be inclined to say no. No. Now, obviously, pensioner poverty is a real thing. Not all pensioners are wealthy. Not all pensioners have these massive assets to fall back on. But I think as far as the sort of the political weight of this issue, I think it falls down on people that buy and read newspapers, and therefore that's why the right-wing press is particularly interested in it. It falls down on Conservative Party voters who are typically older, and that's why the Conservative Party is so animated about it. I understand the animus around it, but if you kind of take the heat away from it and go, do you think that the richest generation within our society should just receive a flat fee handout from the government every year? I think it's very hard to make a moral case for that.
Sure, but I think most people would agree with you. Most people who received that benefit, but it was the sort of punitive threshold that you set it at. I mean, to put it at £12,500 a year, you've got to pay for your own heating. I mean, that is rather punishing. I actually had a really interesting conversation yesterday with Neil Duncan Jordan, who's the new first ever Labour MP actually for Poole, which we're going to put out tomorrow.
Lovely part of the world, Poole.
It actually really reinvigorated my love for politics, genuinely.
What, your interview with him?
Yeah, I
Really?
thought he was so interesting.
Wow.
He talked about, I was saying to him, you know, when I was at the TUC Congress last year, there was a lot of young people who were very angry at Unite for putting winter fuel as one of their motions and laying it down, and that they believed, like you, that they're the asset class and therefore they can afford to pay for their own fuel and they shouldn't have the triple lock on pensions. And he basically explained it in a way I've never heard it before, which is that you don't pay into the national insurance pot so that you can take out when you're older.
Yeah.
It's an intergenerational social contract, which is we pay for the current pensioners to live. What word am I looking for?
Receive their state pension?
Well, yeah, but like a reasonable living.
Decent standard of living?
Decent standard of living, exactly. And then because we've done that, when we're older, someone else will do it for us. I've never heard it talked about in that sort of vein before. And I guess that's probably because we've grown up in this sort of 15 years of Conservative administrations that tell you that actually that they make you quite selfish around the welfare state, right? That I pay in, therefore I get to take back.
I think it's one of the biggest misapprehensions among older people in the country is that their national insurance contributions have been going into a specific pot
Just for them.
that has their name on it. That is like, no, this is your tax that when you become state pension age, you will be able to draw this down. And it's not. It's just a clever bit of, we're going to tax you a bit more and we're going to describe it in this way so you think it's something that's slightly different. But the state pension is a benefit. It's like anything else. It's welfare. And to your point about that sort of social contract between the generations, I think that is why the people in that live event room were saying, no, do you know what? I'm actually fine with them not having their pension, because actually, if you think about it in terms of a sort of a generational conflict, right? You go, your generation has spent years kicking mine. Why on earth would I want to extend that favour when I can't get onto the housing ladder? When you're making me pay tuition fees, there's this in light, I was hoping that they might talk about the EU deal. Starmer kept trying to bring it up today, but they didn't really get into it. But if you think about it, there's this very specific cohort of people that kind of we all just about touch on, who went to uni and had to pay the £9,000 tuition fees, who by virtue of Brexit, just as they were graduating, were no longer able to go and live and work in the European Union. And just as we now pass out and above the age of 30 as a possible EU mobility scheme comes in, so the generation below us are able to go and live and work in Europe. You're sort of looking at it going, is this a very specific sort of 10-year period?
Wow. If you were born in like 1990s, 1995-ish.
And
you are being pretty buggers.
And it's like, is it the lost generation, the fuck generation? I don't know. I'll figure out some sort of coinage for it. But yeah, Ed, what do you think?
I wonder what this means for Project Starmer, Project Reeves, and their kind of economic planks. If this was kind of the main economic policy that everyone could point to, and they're U-turning on it just months later. So are all their other decisions about cutting, unpopular decisions about cutting benefits or state interventions into people's lives, are they going to stand the test? Do they still, if they don't have enough political capital to get through something like as ugly as this through and stick to it, are they just going to have to abandon this entire economic project less than a year into this ministry.
What is the economic project? Because I know what you're saying,
Cuts, I guess,
but
like,
for them, I'm like, it's so confused.
Absolutely, and it's your point, right? The lobby spokesperson denying that that's even on the table, right? The Guardian reports that he denies it. A week later, it's brought up here. You're sort of looking at it, going, is this a guiding? Does it have a guiding philosophy behind it? Probably not. Is it ruthless pragmatism, as the stenographers of the Starmer court would describe it? It just seems to me to be being buffeted by events.
It's pragmatic as it pertains to literally what do I need to do to get through the week. Yeah. It's pragmatic to how can I make my premiership survive just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
The entire line, their entire economic policy is totally confused and jumbled, because there's half of the cabinet that are advocating for long-termism, right? So some of the time Starmer will stand up and he'll talk about GB energy and about how we need to get off this dependence from global headwinds that can disrupt the energy supply and skyrocket everyone's bills. Okay, good. But in the interim, he takes away everyone's help with winter fuel payments. So it's sort of like, I guess there's a dissonance, because in order to achieve some kind of long-termism in policy, the state has to pick up in the interim. Like when we're talking about the care system, they want to completely revolutionise how we do care. Okay, that's a really good long-term goal to have. But in the interim, you can't say, right, we're not going to let anyone come in here into the country and work as a care worker, and we're going to demonise the ones that do. Also, we're not going to pump any extra cash into that sector while we're transitioning out of it relying on private help. None of it aligns. Like I think there is a clear vision, but there's no path to get to it.
Yeah, I think on this point about disalignment, maybe it's contained within the clip we're about to watch, where Kemi and Keir go backwards and forwards, but she references Angela Rayner and the sort of the split maybe at the top of the upper echelons of the Labour hierarchy. Maybe let's watch that next clip, and if it's in there, we can talk about it. And if it's not, we'll still talk about it, because I'll just bring it up. So let's roll.
Now
the clip.
we're all clear on that.
Mr. Speaker, he needs to stop whining about what the last government did and look at what he is doing. He is the Prime Minister. Look at the numbers this morning. As if inflation figures weren't bad enough, we've also learned that the Deputy Prime Minister is on manoeuvres. He's lost control of the economy. He's lost control of his cabinet. She's sitting there staring at me. She knew exactly what she was doing when she briefed that into the papers. She is demanding, Mr. Speaker, 8 new tax rises, as if we haven't suffered enough. People out there are struggling. Businesses are struggling. People are losing their jobs. We cannot have more tax rises. Will the Prime Minister rule out new tax rises this year?
What did she brief into the papers?
So the FT reported it, but I think originally it was the Daily Telegraph.
It was.
A letter sent by Angela Rayner to Rachel Reeves 2 weeks before the spring statement, saying, Rachel, it doesn't have to be like this.
Cut the
I
crap.
totally missed that. Wow.
Raise 8 taxes.
Yeah, and essentially says, here are 8 taxes we could raise instead of making...
But the fiscal rules.
Yeah.
Hands are tied. Nothing we can do.
So it's
Hands
kind
are
of...
tied to what, though?
The fiscal rules.
Whenever they say
I
that,
tied my hands up.
I
I'm
quite like
stuck.
that. It sounds quite hot.
whenever I see that meme of Katie Hopkins. Do you know the one I'm talking about, where she's put a target on her head, and they say, and she's saying, "This is what it feels like to be a conservative," and then someone's quote tweeted it being like, "Yeah, because you put that target there yourself." That's what I think about when she talks about being stuck in these fiscal rules.
It's like she's a magician or an escapologist.
Yeah.
And she's
Escapologist.
she's an
I'd say
escapologist.
escapologist. That's how
Ooh.
has a bit more of a...
Like she's in a scallop, and she's
No, I would say escalop.
and she's like handcuffed. She's handcuffed in something, but her hands above her head, and she can just
Okay.
move them, and she can unlock them herself. But she's like, "I'm stuck. Isn't this reckless?" But you can see like the key, and someone just like standing with like secateurs to rescue her.
Yeah, it's not exactly Saw, is it?
No, it's not. There's no. It's like if there's a big red button saying stop. It's like the things like the big saw. I guess I've actually never seen a saw film. There must be saws involved.
I can.
In the first one, there is.
Yeah, just imagine it's coming
Little
towards
hacksaw.
you, and the wee clown man
Has there
just
His name is Jigsaw.
oh, is that what it's called? Saw.
No, I think it's called Saw because the first one is there's like a hacksaw and he has to saw his own leg off.
Well, but imagine that. Imagine that was voluntary. Imagine there's
Spoiler
no
alert.
jigsaw.
That's 20 years old. Has there been a recent Saw film? The man who must not be named will know that information.
Yes, there was. I went to see it. It was, well, how long ago would it
Well-
have been? A year ago? 2 years ago?
He won't say. He won't
Yeah.
say. He won't say.
Yeah.
This is so.
11 in Roman numerals, that would be.
Yeah.
21, isn't it?
There was some like really wet film out at the time that my boyfriend at the time wanted to go and see, and I was like, no, Saw.
I saw a good sketch, I think it was SNL, of like a like tired and degraded, middle-aged, sort of young, maybe not young professional, office worker who was kind of being terrorized by Saw throughout his daily life. but it would be like he'd open the fridge and Saw would be in there like trying to threaten him, and he'd just like shut the fridge on him. So it was good, made me laugh.
And that was there any payoff?
I think there was more of a payoff to it, but I can't remember what the punchline was. So
But
I
that's
start a story to nowhere. I do that a lot these days.
but if there was
Probably
no
to saw
payoff,
his leg off or something.
but that is Rachel Reeves and the fiscal rules.
Yeah,
Like, she could just ignore them, but the fiscal rules are in the fridge. Like, fiscal rules.
Yeah.
I will do what you say.
Yeah.
It's sort of starting to feel a little bit like, do you remember when Boris Johnson used Sue Gray as a safe word?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, well, I can't speak. We must wait for Sue Gray to conclude her report, right? And it's the same thing. You kind of go, oh, it's the fiscal rules. So, hands are tied.
Do you remember my Sue Gray merch idea?
No, what
No.
was that?
I was going to sell to like Labour nerds the Supreme logo, but the Supreme box logo, but it just said Sue Gray in it.
You'd make packet with
I
that.
would have made a lot of money.
It was a moment.
It was a moment. Not now.
Yeah.
Actually, let me know if
No,
you're
no,
interested.
because she's fallen, hasn't she?
But maybe for people who like live in the heydays of Starmer's opposition,
Maybe you can get some stuff prepped for when Morgan McSweeney goes.
what would that be?
I don't know, but he's done such a fantastic job up till now.
You could do a sort of Sweeney Todd type flip around, right? Where he's kind of like Morgan McSweeney is being beheaded and rolled into like a basement.
I'm not sure that would sell on T-shirts. To be
No,
fair.
probably not.
It's a bit dark.
I'd buy it for Gordon Brown.
What would Gordon Brown's one be?
Gordon Brown.
Gordon's gin.
Gordon's what?
Gin.
Yeah, that'd be good. Gin bottle, but it says Gordon Brown.
Yeah.
I think we can make some money out of this stuff.
Newcastle Gordon Brown ale.
Yeah. A packet of heroin, Gordon's Brown.
Gordon Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison.
It's only smells Gordon Brown.
Gordon's one-eyed girl. Something like that.
Leave
Get that.
Gordon Brown.
Yeah. Anyway, Ed Davey also
I
on
love that man
Winterfield.
so much.
Newcastle Brown ale.
Gordon Brown.
He has a quite a deep friendship with Shakira
Yes.
That's good. That is good.
Mm-hmm.
Brown knowledge.
because they both worked on UN education policy. I think getting kids to read.
That makes sense.
Have you been following the drama about Shakira sacking her backup dancer?
No.
No, do tell.
Her backup dancer was taking the limelight.
Really?
Yeah.
Must be a good dancer then.
Oh, she's a very good dancer.
Better than Shakira.
Yeah, this has been
guess
the controversy.
If you are a backup dancer, you do need to rein it in, probably.
You do. You have to recognise your role,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is to back up.
yeah. This podcast is so stupid.
It is, yeah, it's silly. I don't know how people still listen to it, but they love it.
I always, again, I say it often, but it makes me really smile thinking about the bloke in number 10 who has to do the media monitoring. The one who has to listen to this one. Yeah, well, Morgan, we're actually 20 minutes in and they've been talking about it's only smells. Do you know what that is?
Ollie Dunmore suggests you're being beheaded. And they make a t-shirt of it.
The Irish one reckons you're an op.
True.
Yeah, there's a really good doc. Is it 20 Feet from Stardom? 30 Feet from Stardom? It's about backup singers.
Oh,
It's really, really, really good. Won an Oscar.
really?
Yeah.
Who's in it? Who are these people?
It's
You
like,
don't know because that's what the backup
well,
dancer is supposed to
sort
do.
of the point.
Anonymous.
So,
It's like filming Paul McCartney and the interviews of out of shot.
what is the
You can barely hear them. They're shouting.
Rolling Stones song? Give Me Shelter.
Yeah.
That whole like like rape, murder. That's the backing singer, and it's the sort of the crescendo of the song is this soaring vocal solo, and if you listen to the recording, you're sort of going, is that Mick Jagger? Could be Mick Jagger, probably not Mick Jagger, but might be Mick Jagger. It's not. It's and quite often actually with a lot of these backup singers, it's these insanely talented but close to the limelight but not in it, young black women with these incredible voices who are essentially marginalised. It's a really, really good doc.
Or in the case of one Britney Spears song, it was N-Dubs' Tulisa.
Talisa's done backing vocals on a Britney Spears song.
Tulisa, Scream and Shout was her song.
How do Scream and Shout go?
I want to scream and shout.
Oh, really?
And let
Isn't it
it
the Black
all
Eyed
out.
Peas?
It's Will.i.am,
Right. Oh,
Britney.
Britney, bitch.
But it is Tulisa, and it's actually all of Tulisa's vocals, which is, when she's like, it's like, what's the opening line, the verse? And you can really hear that is an English accent. Everyone's like, oh, Britney's doing an English accent. No, it's Tulisa singing.
I can't remember. No, that's not it, is it?
Oh, oops.
Yeah, we can. We do what we
Yeah.
want. No one can hear it right now. It's just us. Oh, yeah, that's Talisa.
Yeah.
That is Talisa.
It's a female boss.
Yeah. And the only bit that's Britney is when she goes,
It's Britney.
Britney, bitch.
That's it.
And Tulisa didn't know about it until it came out and it was number one. And she was like, that's my song.
Well, she should read her contract.
No. Will.i.am took it from her.
Oh, it's just a sample.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she would have been recompensed for that. Or someone would have.
You would hope so.
Will.i.am is a stickler.
N-Dubs, man. What a band. Right, so let's stop. We're going to have another clip.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has rightly said that his new trade deals will give a much-needed boost to economic growth and thus to the public finances. So will the Prime Minister make sure that struggling families and pensioners see the benefits of the growth? He teased the House with his first answer to his honourable friend, the member for Luton North. So will he commit now to reversing his cuts to the winter fuel payment in full?
Was he also not listening to Keir Starmer's announcement at the very beginning?
I don't think we even
Question.
addressed that Kemi was, because we were talking about
Yeah.
Tulisa and fingering. But Kemi completely missed that he'd already said it.
And why are they not,
No, Ed
agile
Davey,
enough?
Ed Davey references the fact that it was already raised by Sarah Owen.
But Starmer says we're going to try and make more people eligible for the support, which answers the question of, are you going to overturn it entirely? No.
Yeah.
So it's a waste of a question.
I
It
guess
is a waste of a question. And Kemi Badenoch, I think, Ed, you can kind of allow there. But Kemi Badenoch using pretty much all of the 6 questions to ask that repeatedly.
Yeah.
She is not listening.
She's not listening. She can't listen.
She can't react.
But I guess this is part of the problem with it all being pre-planned. It's not a debate. It's not sitting there listening to what someone says, following it up, because everyone's so focused with getting it right, getting the clip for social. Let's plan this. We know we're going to have 6 questions in the case of Kemi Badenoch, so let's map out what our 6 questions are going to be with Ed Davey. I know I've got 2 questions, so I know what they're going to be. Or any MP that gets selected, I've got a question. What should it be? It cheapens the overall quality of the debate.
Yeah, it does. But it should be well within Ed Davey's power to have a plan B. Or literally
Or in his
every MP.
gift.
Say that again.
In his gift.
Absolutely.
It is.
It's in his gift.
It makes you. At what point are they actually dress rehearsing these? Because
Yeah.
that is Kemi Badenoch is. Oh, she's so over. She is opposition for opposition's sake.
Do you think she's done? She washed?
I don't.
Is she cooked?
Look, I'm really not trying to dive into that sort of FBPE kind of. Oh, she's always been terrible. Sort of narrative. I think that she has proven she cannot do this job.
Yeah.
Consistently. She is opposition for opposition's sake. I haven't actually heard anything out of her that has been reasonably nuanced or interesting or conducive or helpful the entire time she has been leader. I mean, her opposition, I actually wrote down the figures. She keeps going on about that Trans-Pacific trade deal she signed when she was business and trade minister. That will, I think it was around 1.9 billion annually is what that's going to, the potential it has to improve of GDP. Then you look at something like this UK-EU deal, that's 9 billion annually by 2040. If you, to be so stupid to not understand the difference between 2 billion and 9 billion
yeah.
as like a markedly substantive difference in figures. If you are that stupid, you should not be leader of the Conservatives.
I feel that every time Kemi Badenoch speaks, it's you're at the circus and the sort of the recurring clown comes in on his car and is like going and like squirts a child with water and then drives off again. And all the while, the circus master who has a cloak and is kind of standing with his fingers like this,
Where's the escapologist of this?
Robert Jenrick, is just stood in the wings watching her, like waiting for the opportune moment to sort of push a stick into the spokes and watch the whole thing fall apart.
Even then, like Robert Jenrick being this like weird
Vampiric
master plan guy, like I really don't think he would do much better in this. Like he's still part of the exact same government. It's not like he comes in and everyone forgives the Conservatives all their sins of the previous opposition.
I think
he has to carry the burden of being the inheritors of the Conservative legacy.
I think he's a better communicator. I think he's better on
No, I'm with
social.
him.
Do you?
Like he's he makes better social media videos, but I think they appeal to like the captured base. They appeal to like the weird right wing guys who are like talking about Anglos and stuff and like IQ and kind of race science. That's who he's appealing to. He's not appealing to like normal people.
I think you're bang on. I think you are bang on. When you look at the issues he's selecting to highlight on social media, it is exactly that. It actually looks rather childish. I mean, you're talking about a time where there is. The Conservatives will never be forgiven for the mistakes that they made to the economy, the damage that they did to the economy and the state that everyone is living in at this moment in time, if they fail to address it and instead they just sort of go on about Lucy Connolly and free speech and high levels of immigration. No one will ever be able to take them seriously again.
I feel like I need to be clear with you guys that when I described Robert Jenrick as vampiric, that was not an endorsement of his politics.
Why do you think we think being a vampire is a good thing?
because I agree with like the way he's selecting issues, but I'm not saying that I think that they're fantastic things to campaign on. What I'm saying is,
Oh, you're flip-flopping, aren't you?
what I'm saying is the context in which the leader of the Conservative Party operates will be the same no matter who they are, whether it's Jenrick, whether it's Badenoch, whether it's Mel Stride or anybody else. But if you were to just compare Kemi and Jenrick to each other, I think Jenrick is a better communicator. I think he's braver. After the local election trouncing, who was it that went out and did the media round? It was him, not her. And I think he's better on social. And look, we can say the stuff that he chooses to talk about is of the right wing fringe. Well, the Prime Minister is shifting the Overton window to the right by allegedly being the sort of centre left perspective on, say, for example, an issue like immigration. But he's the one who's employing the rhetoric that we were all talking about last week. He's the one that's...
You misunderstand me. I don't think that he is highlighting issues that are right-wing fringe. I think they are the most important issues to a large faction in this country, only because they've gone on and on about them. When you actually go to the ballot box, sensible people will be looking at the economy. That is the paramount issue in this country, right?
Yeah.
You're not actually going to go and vote for... You're not going to look at someone... They're still advocating for de facto austerity, and we can get Labour are putting it in or whatever, but they are arguing for it, right? A smaller state, they want to cut taxes, they essentially want a Liz Truss budget. Why on earth would anyone vote for that?
And also as well, he would have to deal with the exact same arguments that Badenoch exemplified in this session, where she said at the end of the Conservative government's time in office, inflation was at 2% and now it's at 4%. And Starmer went, at least it's not 11%. And they don't really have an answer to that.
Yeah. Yeah. True say.
Yeah, they don't. But this is why I think Rishi Sunak will be looked upon kindly.
Yeah, I don't think you could have done anything to turn it around.
In a revisionist sense, I think getting it
to
2%. Oh, people are going to be in the comments like, hey, he actually didn't do anything to get down to 2%. Well, actually he did. But
also with Robert Jenrick, he was part of like the gang with like Dowden and Sunak, who were touted as like the next generation of Conservatives, and they were elected in 2015, and 9 years later they're done. So will his reinvention be successful? Will he be able to build alliances within the remaining Conservative parliamentary party, like who authentically believe him to be the champion of what he claims to be, when he's gone through so many like transformations previously? And I just don't know if he's the guy. If the clothes
our
fit.
problems are so much more endemic than he lets on, right? You know, like even when they're talking about like the issues with the Brexit deal, they were highlighting the fishing, right? The fishing problem is a lot more nuanced than the common fisheries policy, right? You've got like some bodies, like I think it was Scotland Salmon, who were really pleased and welcomed the deal because they're arguing, well, actually, this is going to save us £3 million in tariffs every single year. That's brilliant. Genric is arguing that, no, this is really bad because fishermen are really suffering in coastal towns and coastal towns are dilapidated. Yeah, they are. That is not solely because of the common fisheries policy. And, you know, that's from decades of underinvestment and from people not wanting to visit those areas anymore because they can now take cheap flights abroad. If you go with the sort of conservative line of thinking at the moment, it's like everything is a one-stop solution and it all comes down to like, if you solve immigration, then everything will magically come back.
Yeah, and I think on your point about whether or not he can or will get there, and it's up to the MPs to kind of put him in that position. The only way this is why he fell short against Kemi, right? Is because time and time again the Conservative Party membership, when it comes to that election contest, they vote for the most right-wing one, and so the only way the Conservatives the MPs could give him the chance of winning that is to essentially rig the vote so that the number 2 that gets through is some kind of sort of left-wing stalking horse, and the membership elects Genric because he's not James Cleverly. I think that's basically his only route to getting there. Should we do another clip?
Yeah,
Sure.
Roll the clip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister will know that thriving high streets are essential to local growth. But in cities like mine, people are increasingly concerned by the uncontrolled growth of betting shops and vape stores. Research shows this concern is not isolated. Nearly half of betting shops and gambling stores are in the 20% of places which are struggling the most, like Peterborough. So can I ask the Prime Minister, will he ask his departments to meet with me and campaigners so we can discuss ways that local communities like mine can take back control of our high streets?
I've thought about this a fair bit, particularly in relation to barbers, because of all the Turkish barber chat that was happening. What was it, about six months ago? Ooh, little pop, little
pop
fizzle.
You're not allowed to dress any noises in the room anymore because they've told you in the comments that
They can't hear them.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Apologies. Like when you look at the high street and it's just chicken shops and vape shops and barbers, part of the reason, to my mind, that is because these businesses, so far, Amazon has not found a way to be able to provide those services and do it more cheaply. So, you know, you can only get hot chicken from a chicken shop, right? When you want a vape, you want the vape then. You don't want it to arrive tomorrow on Amazon Prime, and Amazon can't give you a haircut.
I don't know if there is Amazon salons, now that you said that. I've definitely seen...
Really?
Yeah. Not only, certainly not in shopping centres, rather than... I think there's one in, like, London Bridge Station.
This is what Richard Tice wanted. This is what he wanted. He wanted to take barbershops away from the Turks and put it in the hands of a global mega corporation. Just the perfect. This is exactly what we wanted to happen.
Well, it solves the tax issue.
Yeah. They don't pay him either way. Yeah, look, I think, and so that's what I think about it. Is like if you want to have a flourishing high street, you can look at the impact. I think that I've mentioned the book before. It's called The Everything War. You look at the way that sort of political figures will campaign for an Amazon warehouse, fulfillment center, distribution, whatever, to be placed in their constituency, and be like, you know, this is brilliant. It's brought 1,000 jobs to the local community. Not really realizing that actually, if you just expand your scope a little bit wider and think about how Amazon is punishing your high street, the net of sort of Amazon in your local area is almost certainly a negative one. But when it comes to betting shops, I think, well, actually, there is a bountiful online gambling space, right? Where so I don't know what the answer to this is why
Amazon gambling
is why the bricks and mortar betting shops are still present despite having equally as vibrant and pervasive online platforms.
Age, presumably. I would guess.
Yeah.
I would guess that if you're older, you're more
Yeah.
likely to go in and put a bet on. And also, it's also social. There's a social element to it.
Yeah.
You go in and watch the horses.
Yeah, that's
Put
true.
a bet on instead of just you're not. There's like two different strands of like a gambling crisis, isn't there? Like there's like young men who are addicted to like online gambling and it's like instantaneous. Whereas like if you're older, you can go in and watch the horses and put bets on all day. And I guess there's a social element to that as well.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go in the betting shop when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's like I was desperate to do it.
Do you know what I liked? There was a club in Edinburgh when I was at uni, which had those quick like pub quiz machines that just get like they take your money.
Yep.
Like, well, I guess like all fruit machines.
Yeah. Occasionally you would win.
I put money into the machine that takes my money and won none back. I'd spend like all night on this quiz machine certain I could beat it.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Did you?
Nope, not once. Not once.
Eliminator. That was the game that we used to play. I've forgotten what the pub was. I think it was the Golden Bee had an eliminator machine. Yeah, we'd sometimes win.
Yeah,
It's a good way to spend half an hour in the pub, isn't it?
yeah. It's all quizzes are good quizzes.
Yeah, we enjoy quizzing.
This is like this question, even though it's from a Labour MP, is sort of it's what we were talking about with Jenrick a minute ago, right? There's a compounding issue. There's the high street is not solvable by like, if you eliminate the vape shops so the reform argument would be, don't you hate that it's only barbers and vape shops on high streets these days? Now, good, hardworking people cannot go to the shops they like. If you took them away, if you banned them, nothing would fill those gaps, right?
Yeah.
And it goes to your argument about Amazon, but it's also, it's business rates, right? And it's also the parking that has been taken away by the local council.
And like shopping malls.
Shopping malls.
Yeah, I've spoken. I think I've spoken about it before on the podcast. In the 2019 election, I went to Grassmore and interviewed the guy who worked behind the bar in like the local working men's club in his 60s, and he was talking about that when he was 17, on the verge of his 18th birthday, he couldn't wait to be 18 so that he could go up the club and have a pint with all of the older men that were in there. Like the entire community was in there. It was a bustling, vibrant space, huge bingo hall, like 250 seat capacity, etc. And it wasn't like that anymore. There were about 3 or 4 people in there. It was quite a sad scene. And the guy who ran the bar was like, people don't want to come out for a pint anymore because they've got their Tesco beer, they've got their Facebook for socialising, and they've got their PlayStation. And at the end of the day, yes, part of this picture is planning. Part of this picture is like zoning laws. Part of this picture is, I think there's a very valid argument to talk about kind of digital services tax and using that money to reinvigorate the high street or protect the high street from Amazon's impact on sort of bricks and mortar businesses. But at the end of the day, if your local community doesn't wish to use the slightly more expensive butchers or the slightly more expensive greengrocer, they will go out of business. It's kind of there's a shop on my high street that went out. There's a pet shop that'd been there for like 30 years, and they put a sign up at the beginning of the year that was like, we have enough to last until April. If you don't use the shop, it will close. Mm-hmm. It's closed.
Yeah, because they're just being undercut by online services.
Yeah, people subscribe. They get their dog food off Amazon, set the subscription up, and it's and there it is.
Or there's even independent like artisanal businesses where you can pay like a subscription to get your pet food or your flowers. So there's no need to go and patronise the local flower shop and stuff like that. Like
I love going to the flower shop.
I get flowers. I am quite good. I like getting people flowers for like birthday presents or whatever, but I always do use like an online subscription service. Yeah, but I guess it's because I live away from my family. But I probably should.
Oh yeah, if you've got to deliver them up there, yeah.
I probably should just use contact a local florist and do that.
I think that they're always nicer.
Yeah, I do that. Do you know that website? I think it's bookshop.org, and they just like, I don't actually know how exactly how this works, but you can pick an independent bookshop that you are ordering from.
Oh really?
So it's like the convenience of something like Amazon, I guess, but there's an independent business that is benefiting from it.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Which I think is a good service.
I suppose if the fix all solution would be if you charge Amazon the correct amount of tax, or you make them pay tax properly, then they'll have to raise their prices, and then they'll probably be in line with some of the high street retailers.
Amazon are trying to get into this space, I guess, with like their salons and like the Amazon Fresh. I don't think Amazon Fresh has taken off in the way that they
I have never been to an Amazon Fresh, have you?
I've been in because it was like, the thing they say about like it just charges your Amazon account and it automatically.
Yeah.
But that's only, but they found out that's only because there's like hundreds of people in India who are being like tasked with like looking at what you're picking up and putting in your basket.
You're joking.
Doing it manually. It is not automatic in the slightest. They're like employing like a secret workforce to like track you around.
You
the
are
shop.
joking.
I'm not joking. That's exactly how it works.
Wow.
So they can't. So that's obviously not scalable entirely for like every high street in Britain.
Hello.
Hello. You good?
I think this might be our next gentleman for the pub quiz, is it?
Oh.
Sorry, just hi. Sorry, give us 5 minutes, mate, if you want to take a seat, and then we'll grab you. What was I going to say? Yeah, but this is literally why the way Amazon was set up. Bezos identified the sort of the American state that had the most advantageous tax regimen for Amazon to operate, and chose Seattle because it doesn't charge sales tax on most transactions. And the way Amazon operates is that it essentially undercuts its competitors to the point by leveraging various components of its business. Might be the fact it can establish itself in tax suitable territories. It might be that they can leverage Amazon Web Services to provide themselves with cheaper digital services, crush their competition, move into their space, and then increase prices. And in the same way, you're kind of sort of witnessing it now, right? Where you can destroy these local high street shops with cheaper deliveries, and then once you've done that, you go, do you know what, actually, maybe we will set up a salon, maybe we will set up greengrocers. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure if we have time for another clip, so maybe we'll have to wrap it up there. Is there anything else you guys wanted to?
Oh no, come on, we've got to do Lucy Connolly. Oh, we didn't do F-35.
I don't think F-35s is we've got F-35s and Lucy Connolly.
Well, should we do F-35?
I don't know if we have enough time to get into it. Okay.
Why don't they do that tomorrow morning? They've got another podcast coming tomorrow morning.
Yeah, let's do that.
Do it then.
Let's do that. Okay.
All right, deep dive tomorrow on Gaza.
And we always stick to our promises about what the next podcast will be.
We didn't even do the EU deal. I think we need to do some EU chat as well, don't we?
A little bit.
Did you? Give it a little bit of sauce.
No one listens. Do you know what I mean?
I was there. I listened to you.
You came out and said we didn't do the EU deal.
No, I didn't. I actually did not say that because I would have lied.
You've never done that before.
We did do it.
I love lying. Only about Ed though.
Yeah, she does actually.
All right, grand. Well, you'll get all that with Sean and Laura tomorrow then.
Enjoy.
Very good. Ed Campbell, pleasure doing business with you.
Pleasure.
Ava Santina, until next time.
Until then.
Goodbye.